Recording now. Thank you, fantastic. So the European Heritage Hub that is presenting you this webinar today is a European pilot project connecting heritage stakeholders around Europe to support the transition towards a more sustainable, digital and inclusive society. This is our fourth Sharing Local Stories webinar, and it aims at showing local good practices that we have selected through different activities of the Hub, and I'm really happy to welcome both our speakers today. Exemplary practices that contribute to this transition. So this webinar is hosted by Eurocities, the network of large European cities, as a main partner of the European Heritage Hub, and Europa Nostra, which is the organization representing heritage in Europe. And I'm going to leave the floor to Manon, who is our project leader, for a couple of words of introduction.
Thank you, Clémentine, and good afternoon to everyone. It's really a great pleasure to see some familiar faces here, but also many new faces. I really hope that you will enjoy this webinar. You will think it is fruitful, both professionally and personally, and that we will stay connected. Also, big thanks to our two speakers who will be presenting their projects today. I'm really looking forward to hearing more on the role of water also as an element of cultural heritage. And big thank you to also the team at Eurocities and my colleagues at Europa Nostra for their great work in organizing the event. So just to provide a little bit of framing and context, this webinar, the Sharing Local Stories, it's a webinar series that takes place in the frame of the European Heritage Hub pilot project. It's a project funded by the European Union that aims at gathering heritage stakeholders and initiatives across Europe. It actually builds on the momentum that was created in 2018 with the European Year of Cultural Heritage. It really is aiming at sustaining its mobilization, legacy, and long-term impact. So we have launched in May 2023, and the pilot phase will end now at the end of the month with a continuation in the form of a preparatory action. So Europa Nostra is the leader of the project, but we cannot do this alone. So we have built a consortium of about 20 partners from across Europe, and each partner has really a specific focus and expertise to bring to the project. Our four main partners are the Europeana Foundation that focuses on digital heritage, KU Leuven, the university, who's doing more work on the research and policy. And for the regional and local dimension, we have, of course, Eurocities and also ICLEI. And I would like here also to really emphasize the role and importance of cities within the project. Some of them are even associated partners, like the cities of Athens, Krakow, Lisbon, and Nicosia. And with these cities and some of our member organizations or country representations across Europe, we have developed regional hubs, each also focusing either on a geographical coverage or theme. And here, our objective is really to decentralize our work and widen our outreach to citizens and communities at a more local level. And so far, we have established 4 regional hubs. The first one was established in Krakow, Poland, for Central and Eastern Europe. Then we had Athens for Southeastern Europe. Then Lisbon, that's more focusing on innovation. And the Nicosia hub for Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East. So this is it on my side. Please stay connected. You can follow us on our social media, on our website, subscribe to our newsletters. We will organize many more events in person and also webinars in the coming weeks and months. So yeah, hope that you will join us, and I wish you a fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Manon. Thanks for emphasizing the local dimension to this project. And we'll get running. Before we get started, just a few principles and general digital housekeeping rules. So please mute your microphone if you're not speaking. Use your digital hand if you want to speak. There will be a time for Q&A session after the panel discussion. So please stay online with us. Keep your camera open if the connection allows it. It's nice. We're humans, we are social animals, and we like to see faces. And use the chat to ask any questions or share resources in relation to the topic of today. We really insist that the European Heritage Hub is an inclusive, cooperative, open, and safe space for everyone to contribute. So please listen to others respectfully, be open to learning, mindful of time. That is also my role, and create a positive atmosphere while recognizing maybe sometimes discomfort, and be mindful of others. So thank you very much for everyone for participating in this webinar. I think we can move on to, yes, thank you, the next slide. So starting with the topic of today, I was looking today at the Copernicus Institute, the European Copernicus Observatory, and May 2025 was the second warmest May globally, according to the temperature measurement. And also in most of Northern and Central European regions, it was also drier than usual. So I think this really also shows the topical interest of our webinar today, how water connects people through its flow, how the history of water management in our cities and regions also connects us, and why it's important to consider this heritage today while we are facing more extreme climate events, so water scarcity and drier summer and spring as well. So today we are going to focus on the green dimension of the triple transformation, and especially how heritage can support cities to adapt to climate change. And we'll explore the contemporary significance of heritage through two local stories from Sarajevo in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Chalandri in Greece. I'm very glad to welcome with us Sanela Klarić. Sanela, she's the chairwoman, among many things, chairwoman of the Green Council of Bosnia and Herzegovina, PhD in architecture, associated professor at the Birch University in Sarajevo, member of the Parliament of the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, so member of the board of the Green New Deal, and very active in the Sarajevo Green Design Festival, an expert on sustainable development, EU integration, and environmental protection, also president of the board of the Engineering Chamber of the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and founder of the Green Building Council of Bosnia and Herzegovina. So thanks.
Clémentine, we cannot hear you.
Okay, sorry for that. I don't know what happened to my mic, and I don't know where you stopped. So I was introducing Sanela. I don't know if you had this recorded, Natalia. Yes, okay, so sorry for this. So thanks a lot, Sanela, for sharing with us today your experience in green innovation and heritage, water heritage in Sarajevo. And with you, we have Christos Giovanopoulos, project manager at the Municipality of Chalandri in Greece. Christos has been the project manager of the Urban Innovation Action Project Cultural Hydrant, which we'll know more about, and now a manager of the Hydro Heritage Cities Urbact Transfer Network project. So we will also learn more about this. Christos is PhD candidate on social and cultural anthropology at the Vrije University of Amsterdam on the topic of infrastructures and social solidarity. And he has several publications and articles on grassroots social solidarity movements and commons in Greece. So there is also a strong participation and grassroots element to your projects, actually both your projects, and we will talk also about this. So now that the introductions of the speakers are done, I think we can just drop the PowerPoint and give the floor to our speakers. And I would like to start by asking both of you to describe briefly where we are. So what is your city like in terms of climate, of landscape, and relationship with water? So maybe we start with Sanela.
Yes, thank you a lot for the invitation. Hello to everybody. I'm so happy that I get a chance to talk about my lovely city, Sarajevo, to all of you. We have a lot of challenges in Sarajevo. It's a capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and also we're facing a lot of problems if we're talking about air quality, because we are actually in one valley. That we also have natural difficulties for the ventilation, and then during winter time, but also summer, we have that huge problem. We also have, if you're talking about water, we also have a huge resources potentials. I was really amazed when we introduced and started this project about fountains in the city. When we start to map them, we realized that actually Canton Sarajevo have more than 1,000 springs on that territory. And that was for us really important, because we also realized that we have a lot of fountains in the city, especially in the urban part of the city. And we map more than 300 of them that are registered on different level of the governance. And in this moment, we also research a lot about the materials, the functions. One master thesis, my students also finished his master thesis on that. And then this project actually got many layers. Most of them are historical layers or heritage, because each of those fountains are different, which is not case in city of Rome or Vienna or Barcelona, because most of the fountains are same, and then they replicate them on the city. In our case, each of them do have also this aesthetic elements. It's about also hygiene and about public health, how to also make sure that those water is drinkable. It's about functions, how to maintain, because in this moment, unfortunately, we don't have a company that is maintaining and taking care about that. It's about also climate change and how we could, with this water, help our city to decrease this overheating during summer. And then on the end, we also made a research if all those fountains will be in the function, how we could actually also decrease the numbers of the plastic bottles and introduce multifunctional bottles that people actually will have them up. They will know where to find the fountains, and they will actually drink our drinking water from the fountains that is safe. And on the end, for the branding of the city and the tourism, we also introduced these barcodes on each of those fountains. So once when you approach the fountains, you could also get a lot of information about them. And I think it's important to talk about air as well. But the water and the airs are always links. And I think that this project also introducing another elements of this city also have a potentials, and also in the same time facing a lot of challenges, how to manage that.
Thanks a lot. And we'll get back to many of the aspects you already mentioned in this introduction to water in Sarajevo. Christos, how is what can you tell us about Chalandri? Where are we, and what is it like, and what's the space in which this aqueduct is functioning now?
Hello, everyone, and thanks for having me, for the invitation. Chalandri, just to give you, as much as we can, kind of a geographical context. It is one of the municipalities of Athens, and it is the larger in the northern sector of Athens, and it has been historically a place until the 60s, when it was the rapid urbanization and expansion of the city of Athens. It has been a place where the Athenians had got their summer houses because of the lush green areas and because of a lot of water and water springs. It has, because of this special connection with the water, the only small river, the only rivulet that was is still open and accessible to the people in the entire metropolitan Athens, it is in Chalandri, because the population of Chalandri, the inhabitants of Chalandri, they have a special relationship to it, and they fought very strongly not to be covered, and been built. So it's the only preserved, local kind of natural habitat. Open water, physical, natural resource in Athens, besides the sea, of course, the seafront. Yeah. And the other element it is that the since the 90s, the mode of development that happened in Chalandri until the crisis, it had a lot of, it was, in many respects, it created Chalandri as the main kind of leisure center and retail center of the northern sector of metropolitan Athens. So this brought a lot of externalities, a lot of cost and reduced significantly the well-being of the local citizens. So what we were looking at, it was how we can besides the reservation of this riverlet and its banks with a green, etc., the Rematia Creek, what else can we do in order to counter back, let's say, to offset this kind of cost, this reduction of the well-being of the citizens of Chalandri. And we came along another water resource, a hidden water resource that existed and crossed the city, the Adrian Aqueduct. The Adrian Aqueduct is a Roman aqueduct. It was built as an expansion of an even older aqueduct, the Pisistratos aqueduct, that was carrying water to Athens. And it is 24 kilometers long from the mountain of Parnithine just outside Athens, and was carrying water to the center of Athens. And this amazing technical work, ancient technical work, which is the perfect definition of a nature-based solution today. Okay, it's not mechanics involved, and it carries water throughout its 19th century's life. It has been abandoned, it has been rediscovered and reused many times in its history. Last time was abandoned in the 30s, when it was replaced by the modern water network in Athens. And now we rediscover it and we regenerate it and we reuse the water. Its water, but also its memory, because we want also to intervene and change the culture of the everyday life. We want to reintroduce a water use related to non-potable water. So we use its water as an alternative water resource to water your trees, or to clean public spaces, or your car, or whatever, and save drinkable water. Because only last summer came, which was the hottest summer in Athens, the last since data exists. It was revealed that the water reserves of in Athens, if the weather carries on like this, the heat carries on kind of increasing.
I don't know if it's only on my side, but the connection is a bit interrupted. Yes. So maybe while
Christos.
While Christos reconnects, I think what's interesting in both cases is that you have this kind of overlap between the heritage system, the ancient system, and also the new urbanization that came on top, still not erasing completely this heritage. I suggest, while Christos is maybe reconnecting with us, that we can show, because we're gonna take maybe a step back and go back to exactly what you have been doing in both your cities. So if I'm talking about Sarajevo, I suggest maybe we show very briefly, Olivia, the video that shows the project that Sanela already introduced us to. It doesn't have any sound, so you don't worry if you don't hear it, but maybe Sanela, you would like to speak over.
Actually, this video was a very short presentation once when we apply with our project for new European Bauhaus Prize last year, and we have to prepare 50 seconds video that will actually be part of our application. And this video actually could show you how our city looks like in 50 seconds, and then you could also see how those fountains are not only in the main streets, but you could find them on these hills, because Sarajevo is very hilly place. And then you could also see the beauties of those fountains. Each of them are really different, and also people are still using that, but also you could see that many cars are also around. So somehow we lost that. And then you could see also this map where we actually put all of them together. This map is now in the Google map form, so you could really see already how many of them we registered and the map. And once when you click on that, you could actually have idea of each of those fountains, because you could see the photo, you could see also explanation about materials, are they in functions, also informations about water quality, and also you could see that there are some greens of them. So some of them actually are recognized with the citizens, because they are not registered in any of those registrations of the municipality or of the city. And it's also important to say that we only map on the 4 municipalities in the city, and city has 9, which means that 9 municipalities, we didn't really go further and to map them, but in the next phase we will. And also we didn't map those ones in rural areas around the city, where we also have a lot of fountains on these touristic places and recreation places. And also this is a tradition, people are building the fountains on the mountains, on the hiking trails, because traditionally people are very much linked with the water, and there is a huge interest to make the fountains on behalf of some members of the families, that people who will drink the water will actually think about that family and thanks them for the water, because in this city nobody should be thirsty in any moments. And there is also the law that actually it's forbidden to measure or to sell the water, which means the freedom of the water, which is also something that we inherited for 100 years. And in 2010 UN resolution actually said that each human right is right for the drinking water. As I said, the city of Sarajevo is inherited, is something where we actually have these UN resolutions for the 100 years.
Thanks a lot, Sanela. And I think in the meantime, Christos is back with us. So I don't know if this resonates with what you have and how people feel in Chalandri about water, this right to water. Is this something that you connect with in Chalandri? And I don't know. I don't see Christos on my screen.
Hello?
Yes,
Now can you hear me?
here you are.
Sorry for this, because talking about heat, my machine said, my mobile said it was overheated, and this why it cut my connection. Anyway, so I'm back here. I don't know what I wanted to say is that I was saying that I was cutting them at the moment that I was saying that the water reserves for Athens last year, it was announced that they will be last only for the next 3 years if the weather carries on like this, and which makes even more emergent, the to find alternative water resources and solutions in order to save, let's say, and use more reasonable the drinkable water. Yeah, so expand to the metropolitan areas of Athens, and of course, it relates to the right to water, but not in the sense that it relates to a rural area or areas that they don't have water. So far, we do have, but in terms of how you find you foresee what is coming up, and you can use the water. You integrate the water in the urban planning of the city, not only for the needs of of drinking water, etc., but as a different way of cooling, for example, the city, or you create a different consciousness about the water use, a more sensitive citizenship about water in the environment, about you used as a machine, as an element, as a kind of a means for a green, for a fair and green transition in the city. And the cultural aspect for us, therefore, it had two elements. One, it was the how we make known the Adrian Aqueduct in order people to embrace it, as a capacity that we have, a hydro capacity, in order to develop other forms of dealing with water and develop a different kind of relationship with the water. And we do this by bringing it closer to the people, by marrying together, the culture of water and of the Adrian Aqueduct with the everyday use of water by promoting these new services so we put it more in the center stage, let's say, of everyday life, and this is a main cultural change that we're looking, how people change their habits, and the water becomes a part, an element of connection, of community connection through its culture and history, but at the same time how we provide alternatives to the actual issue of water scarcity.
Thanks. I was seeing Sanela nodding to this last element that you just mentioned. So do you want to react to what Christos just mentioned about the cultural elements of the
yes,
water
and it was amazing, like Christos said, it was amazing when we introduced this project 4 years ago, how many people respond to us, and we realized that each of the people, each citizens in Sarajevo do have some connections, some cultural connections to that, and they really want to be involved, and they understand how important those fountains are. They want to invest, so they're offering us to open some foundations. As you can see, this is artistic. Also painting that we also got from one academic painter who gave us 19 of those, and they said made auctions, collect the money, and then invest in reconstruction of one of them. So we had so many different reactions, and that shows to us that this is really the topic that people are very much linked, and people are happy and ready to be involved, and they don't know how. They don't understand the legislations. They don't know who is in charge or for the maintenance or managing that. And they looking for the answers if they want to build some fountains in their neighborhood. What are the procedures? How they could actually do that, or how they could donate it, or how they could be involved. The most also what we found that historically, people who are making research about some historical element of those fountains, somehow they didn't really focus on that. They act like this is something that we have, but we also find out that none of any researchers publish any paper about the fountains. We only find 100 years old book when one of professor, they actually also, like we did, they mapped them in the book. So now we really want to organize one of the round table next week, where we're going to gather people from who understand the history, who understand, because with this money that we collected with the auctions, we want to invest with one municipality in one fountains, which is the fountain of the Queen Katerina from the Bosnian kingdom period of time. And we really want to gather people who understand that historical part to help us how to do that in the way that will be accepted from any, procedures if we talking about reconstruction of the fountains. And we are also grateful that this municipality, Hadžići, really wants us to do that together with them, in the way even to make a public competition of the design, which will improve the quality, and also it will help us for the publicity, because we will get more people to help us in the future to also find a way how the public company that is in the water storage will actually understand that this is the role also for them in the future, to find the way to manage those fountains in the future. And we also did research about the new locations, because as you said, for the climate difficulties that we actually have now, many parts of the cities will need to actually have built the new locations with the fountains. And we also learned a lot from Vienna. We had one workshop with them, where we also learned that on the hydrants places, they actually are putting a mobile new infrastructure, where only during summer they're using that to cooling the streets in the city, which also could be in the future something that we could use in Sarajevo.
Thank you, Sanela. I don't know if Christos is still with us, because I think he's had some connections.
Yes,
you are back.
Sorry for this. It's the same issue of overheating the machine. Yeah.
Technology, you never know. What I find interesting in both projects is that they both have a very technical element, like how can we make the infrastructure function, and they also have a more cultural and social aspects. And there is something that I wanted to ask you both, and maybe Christos, you can take it from there. How did you involve people, the locals from Chalandri, in the project? So maybe taking a little step back and explain to our audience what you have actually done in Chalandri and how people were involved in this process.
Yeah. So this this project, the Cultural Hydrant Project, was funded by the UIA, by the Urban Initiatives, the Urban Innovation Actions. It is an integrated. It is a cultural heritage management project for a starting point. But we took a completely different approach to cultural heritage management and reuse. So one thing it is that we said that we followed an integrated methodology. So we approached the cultural, the Adrian Aqueduct, not only as an historical relic that we wanted to expose in order to attract tourists or investors or whatever, but we said, we want to make it known in order to add value to the community. So at the same time that we were documenting its larger history, we use cultural and educational projects, to make it known in the city. We also documented with the help of the Chalandri's oral history group. We documented the local history of the Adrian Aqueduct and the connection of the community with it. As said earlier, the people wanted, they were calling and they would say, "Oh, it is a shaft of the aqueduct in the garden next to mine," and things like that. So people really engaged with that, and it was amazing to see how vivant was. It was still a living memory. So we also used it as a living heritage, not as a dead heritage. So the one aspect of the participation, of reintegrated it in the everyday life, it was to reconnect, revive the memory, and by doing this, to reconnect the Adrian Aqueduct in the identity of the city. The second element that the second level in which we followed the participatory methodology, it was in the urban design of the regeneration that was going on, the urban green regeneration that was going along the Adrian Aqueduct in order to create more common green spaces in the city. Yeah. So this, we used a lot the schools, the school communities, not such the schools was the entry point to the community. So this way we talk about school communities because they were involved around 700 people in all. The majority of those, over 400, 450, they were students that they ran design, kind of participatory design programs related to the implementation of the project in their schools, but also the teachers participated and parents participated. And we had, for the first time, almost 8% of the urban regeneration space. It was designed with in these workshops. And this was really important. Just one example, students that they were in the first grade of the high school, when they were in the third grade of their high school, they played in the schoolyard that they had designed 2 years earlier. This is very important. I bring this example because it is very important regarding participation methods, not only to be a consultation, not only to be to throw ideas that then somebody else has to implement, but to follow the whole cycle, let's say, of participation, from ideation, from designing to implementation, and to the realization of the thing, and then to enjoyment of this. This creates a sense of ownership in the city, and this was something that we were looking always, because we wanted the citizens to have a stronger say in what is happening, and to have to develop spaces that people can be responsible for their city, and avoid this. It was part of creating a trust by sharing some of the responsibility about the city and the future of the city. Those two go together, and not having a connection between the local authority and the citizens, that it is one has to deliver and the other has to complain, or to demand only. So this. So through this, the school kids, for example, they designed the water tanks for their schoolyard, or they designed the slogans and the decoration of the water trucks that they will deliver water from the Adrian Aqueduct to houses that are not close to the network that we would create. They took part in the hydrant festivals, with artworks that they did, or with board games about water to raise awareness, etc. So this was the second aspect of participation. The historical aspect, I forgot to say that the oral history group, all this material that we gathered, we created a digital historical archive, which in order to be sustainable, we created, as part of the project, a local archive history group that with the support of the municipality is the group, the citizens group that administers this digital archive. And now we have reached this point that the demand it is to go to a physical space, a physical archive, because people come in contact and say, oh yes, you know, I have this story and I have this material, this artifacts that I want to give you as part of the local history, etc. So this is another aspect that gives you a glance of the or that we tried also to create during the project, to create the conditions that the output of the project will be sustainable, you know, after the funding finishes. And the best resource that we found, it is just to mobilize, you know, the local community to take care after what we did together. And I'm finishing with the last bit, how we use about the use of water, to put it simply, how we are gonna reuse the water of the Adrian Act. I said about the uses as for non-potable uses. This will give us about, it has the capacity to save something between 90,000 and 100,000 cubic meters of drinkable water. And we do this by creating a new pumping two new pumping stations from the Adrian water, and a network, a 4.5 kilometers network of a parallel network to the existing, for drinkable water, that those that are close to it can connect. But the majority of the households in Chalandri, they're not close to it. So to them, the water will be delivered with water trucks, the municipality water trucks. Again, here we have created a system between a kind of cooperative governance system of the delivery of the water through the water trucks and for the stewardship of the Adrian's water resource as a commons. I don't know if you want to get now into it. I'm finishing here. We can go more into detail how this works. Just to say who are the actors of this system. It is the municipality that offers the infrastructure and administrative institutional backing, let's say. It is a social cooperative of Roma people that they are in Chalandri and they're specialized in gardening. And it is the Adrian community that we have created in the project as the institution that it is responsible for the management of the Adrian aqueduct in Chalandri, as both as historical resource, heritage, as cultural heritage, and as a water resource.
Thanks a lot, Christos, for recapping or summarizing the project in just a couple of minutes. I mean, we've had an interview before, and we know we can talk about it for hours, and it's extremely interesting. And I will share in the chat the link to the article that is on the Hub's website about the project, the Cultural Hygiene project. Because you mentioned governance and all these different actors, I'd like to ask Sanela how it is in Sarajevo. Who is participating? So you've had the mapping, you mentioned academia work, but can you tell us more? Yeah, who are the different stakeholders, and maybe how is the community engaging with the project?
Thank you for questioning, and I also would like to congratulate to Christos for all what they're doing. They really they're very comprehensive, let's say, work. In our case, we got very small amount of money from the VAN projects each year. We got really only 9,000 euros, which is something that we got from Heinrich Böll Foundation. and we didn't really get a huge project, and we were ambitious in that sense, but we achieved much more than actually the funders asked. But it was really important because also I'm a member of the parliament and also member of this assembly in Canton Sarajevo, that we also have me to talk that on the political level and to send that initiative in the way that the government of Canton Sarajevo recognized this project, and they want to be involved and be invest. So they always gave the support, and also the city Sarajevo, because we have different levels of the governance and the municipalities, they also show the interest, and they always coming to our different sessions and conferences and workshops about that topic. We always involved in our work a public company for the water and sewerage, which is really something that we're facing the huge problem because the capacity of that company, and they lost actually connections in last 30 years, especially after the war. They lost any connections in that sense. So they don't have any person who is in charge of that infrastructure, and they are really most focusing on the how to reconstruct or repair existing reconstruction, especially after the war. We really in this moment we're losing 70% of the water in the existing infrastructure system. So I understand the priorities for them, but at the same time, I also think that this infrastructure could help them also to have better promotion about their work, because they are outside and they could see very well. We also involved also Cantonal Institute for the Heritage Protection, also two institutes, one for the development, one for the buildings, because they are in charge also how to plan the future positions, but also how to build them and how to maintain that reconstruction. Of course, we also involved very much this public office for the public health security, which is also important to have them because they are actually daily checking the quality of the drinking water. And other also institutions from the federal level, other NGOs, and as I said, also academia, because it's important also to have those people who will make research. And in this moment, I think the most interest that was shown, everybody was interested, but in this moment, we also facing a lot of difficulties with the funding, even though in our research, and we publish also one research that you could find on our website, how actually we recognize 7 different ways how we could finance this, because those are expensive, also infrastructure for the financing and maintaining. But we recognize 7 layers how we could actually finance in the future. And in this moment, unfortunately, you know that because of the political reasons, Bosnia and Herzegovina is very, very long in this pathway to the EU. So we do have a limited access to the EU funds, which is really pity, because those kind of the projects like we saw, this one that Christos is actually representing, it is really pity that also we are not able to actually use some EU funds in the future, but we hope we will. With the city Sarajevo, we now preparing one project application for Adrian Adrian program. So we will see in the future. Also, I hope that some people in the audience also do have a similar infrastructure in their cities. So maybe we could also stay in contact and then find a way how to those knowledge that we have, but also a lot of other experience that people in the other cities do have, how we could exchange and collaborate in the future. Because I think that those fountains and all those infrastructures that we actually have in the cities, and that historically we are very much linked to them, and we also have a need for the water as well. We also have a need how to protect the water. We also developed with the lawyers one of the document about how with the changes in the constitution we could also actually protect our water. We use Ljubljana and Vienna as the cities that actually do have that constitution rights. And I think there are so many layers about this project. We as NGO, we could continue in that regard, but I think it's important that public institutions seriously understand this topic, and because also Sarajevo is one of the 100 cities for decarbonizations in 2030, I think it's really important to understand that the water is also something that could help us to reach the goals in that program.
Thank you, because you made a perfect transition to my next questions, which is actually about adapting, putting this on the agenda, on the political agenda. And I have with me the Eurocities Pulse, which is our annual survey of mayors of our member cities, of which Sarajevo is one of them. And actually, climate action is for the third consecutive year the top priority of those mayors. So there is really a momentum, let's say, for climate action in the EU at the local level. I wanted to ask you both, because I think this is something that in Chalandri you have been really thinking through, how to connect heritage with other policies such as health and well-being or environmental policies. So briefly, Christos, can you tell us how this is working now in Chalandri, that you have been going through a bit of this advocacy process?
Yeah, as I said earlier, the main aim of the project, the strategic aim, it was how to develop a different form of urban development, having in the center, the increase of the well-being of the local population. And the Adrian Aqueduct kind of making known, reusing, regenerating the Adrian Aqueduct, it was exactly the perfect tool in doing so, because it created a very attractive narrative, a very interesting story, something hidden in 1900, kind of 1900 years old history hidden under our feet, but at the same time it fitted in, and it brought in a very personal level the climate change. A very personal level that was translated in two simple actions, or maybe three. One, it is that we provide a new water service that people, by joining, they save very valuable, precious, drinkable water. Okay, so this is the first level. With a very small act, everyone can be part of a big story. And I think this was really important. This tangible thing was really important for the people to embrace it, because it was easy for them to do so and to have an interest on this and on its success and maintenance. The second element is that, as I said, the urban design, we use the Adrian Aqueduct to enlarge common public space and green walkable space in the city. Chalandri is not one of the worst cases in Athens, but at the same time still suffers from urban heat in the summer. Yeah. So what we do across one green corridor that this small river that we have exists. Okay, we created another corridor along the Adrian Aqueduct, and we created big green corridors that people can walk to the center of the city. Okay, and not stop using their cars. They can walk or they can go by bike, but at the same time, by increasing the green, we create microclimate in order to counter the effect of the urban heat in the summer. This is some of the applications within the project. Now we've been thinking, and we wait the results. We have a new proposal in an indirect call about using the water of the Adrian aqueduct to cool public spaces, starting from schools or places for the elderly, and going then to see where we can go. So climate change has been in the center of a cultural change, because cultural changing is happening. This is how we approach culture in a more generic term, not in an art-defined term. At the same time that we used arts in order to bring this culture, and create this attractive narrative to the people. Yeah. So the cultural element relates exactly to the culture of everyday life, how we integrate climate change, by using history, by using very practical means, as do in Sarajevo with the fountains. I forgot to say that the emblem of the symbol of the city of Chalandri, it is a public fountain, because Chalandri was a very specific one. Only 2 exists now in the central square and in the flag of the Chalandri city, and this shows the connection that the community has got with water and with the fountains. But those 2 fountains do not function, so we have to reintroduce the element of water in the everyday life, so people can see it and can value it more.
Sanela, do you want to catch up on this?
I couldn't agree more, because in our case also, sometimes we have those priorities very high on the list, but they're on the paper mostly than in the practice, unfortunately, because we don't have capacities, and also somehow we are not using that knowledge from the history, from our tradition, because we could learn a lot from what our actually ancestors did before, because I think it's all those layers of the heritage that we have, they could really help us to understand how actually we could use that infrastructure and knowledge, and of course in innovative way to improve. In this moment about this project, I think we did a lot, especially this new European Bauhaus Prize really helped us also to, in our country, it's always good to have also some knowledge from abroad or some opinion from abroad, and this prize was a really good tool to talk and to continue to talk about this. But it's always about money. It's always about capacities, who actually is going to do that. In this moment, we are waiting for the election was in October, so we are waiting for the new mayor to actually, because he was vice mayor on the previous mandate, so he was really one who understands this topic. So now in the position of the mayor, we are hoping, because he is a mayor of those 4 municipalities that we covered with the mapping, we are hoping that actually we will have much a stronger political support from the city level. And we also understand that 9 municipalities of the cantonal level are also important to be involved. So we will continue to work with that. And in this moment, I think it's something that we are facing a lot of difficulties if we're talking about political support in the way they did support us on the paper. But as I said, in the practical level, that doesn't work well, but we are not losing any hope. We know that this project is really the one that everybody loves, and everybody is talking about that. We got so many votes because we win this public voting prize, and so which means that really people likes and understand the projects, and we will continue to work in the parallel way. And we also understand that this interdisciplinary approach is something that is difficult, because this is not only project of one ministry. It's not only Ministry of the Communal Affairs, it's also Ministry of the Spatial Planning, it's also the Ministry of the Tourism, and it's also the Ministry of the Health, all them together. And that's why it's also difficult, because none of the minister is happy or feel comfortable to really be in charge, because it's not 100% of their scope of work. And that's why, and I know that this interdisciplinary approach is a problem not only in Bosnia and Herzegovina, in everywhere. And that's why we are also, let's say, cooperating, working with each of them to understand that only together, if they understand that only together, especially the climate change really needs this interdisciplinary approach. So we are also hoping that in the future, they will also learn how to work together and how to understand the scope of work in this interdisciplinary project, like this water protection or water infrastructure is. But I think it's also good to exchange these practices and knowledge on different ways, like this webinar is, and this also give us more hope when we see, especially this project that Christos is talking. It's really important. Each city, I think, in Europe do have the fountains. It's just the case: are they on the flag or are they in the heart? But they are here, so we cannot ignore that.
It's great you mentioned capacity building and exchanges of experience, because I think, Christos, now you are in the next step of the Cultural Hydrant project, which is about transferring the experience from Chalandri to other cities. Would you like to briefly say a couple of words about this transfer, and maybe if there are any resources that can be made available for the audience?
Yeah, so because this project, and especially I think its methodology, was recognized as one of the best cases of cultural heritage management, but also related to contemporary issues, how you bring cultural heritage, how you deal with it in contemporary terms. You know, you deal with climate change or with citizens' well-being, etc. So we applied for an Airbagged funding, and many cities from Europe responded, and we have created the Hydro Heritage Cities network, in which Chalandri is the leading partner and has to share the experience and the methodology and the challenges that we face with other cities in order how to deal with their hydro heritage. And the cities that participate, it is Rome, it is Elche from Spain, it's Serpa from Portugal, Roselare from Belgium, and Sombor from Serbia. We don't have the same, they don't have Roman aqueducts. Yeah, they have different kind of water resources, being water mills or canals, industrial canals, industrial age canals, stuff like that. But all of them, they want to have this integrated, more comprehensive approach and participatory approach also. And I think this is important. And this is because we work with them. We learn a lot from them also, because they have done things that we want now to do. They have to, we will together will work to have their investment plan in order to be able to secure or find or search, financing in order to deliver and not to materialize their investment plan based on the model of what we did in Chalandri. Ourselves, we have to produce a continuity plan, and it is interestingly that what we try to do, our continuity is not about expanding more what we did with the Adrian aqueduct in the sense of expanding this same infrastructure further, like to do the 4.5 kilometers pipelines to do it 10 kilometers. No, it's not that. It is because we thought that the most innovative aspect of us, it was this combination of participation and integrated approach. So we want to develop this by developing both the digital environment, a digital dashboard, by using citizen science to create, to connect people with the city plans, but also to the people to be active in defining what the city should do and how they should do it, etc. So it is a big, so not as a human census, but an active participation in the design of the city management, and also to create this will lead strategically to an urban lab that will deal with. So we create the infrastructure and the environment for a more collaborative, let's say, management of urban development. And this means that we have also to include, the administrative workers, the local politicians, stakeholders in the city, and the local citizens. So we work in order to find a solution to the challenge of thinking in silos, of not sharing, of just ticking the boxes in order to, for a project to be implemented without seeing what the effects of this project will be in another field next to it. This is our kind of innovative route, let's say, that we have chosen. It's very difficult, but I think it is challenging even now. It has been the discussion regarding all the transitions, in the urban transitions in the EU level, and I'm talking about the discussions that are going on in the Cities Forum, how you make fit the administration of the cities and the everyday working routines of public workers in the cities to all these transitions is a real matter. So this is how a different kind of cultural level that we are intervening now, having in mind these priorities of being more socially just, socially and climate just, let's say, transitions.
Thanks a lot, Christos, for explaining us how you're going further with the project, because you just mentioned European forums and discussions. I would like to ask Sanela, what would you expect from European support or collaboration? Because our hub project is about also connecting with neighboring countries, countries in the accession process. So I think it's also a moment to make your voice heard and call for whatever collaborations or support you would be expecting to continue working on this project.
We're actually searching for many opportunities because in this moment we still have Handball Foundation with us for this year, and we will continue to work on the promotion and the constitution reforms. We will involve one of the, let's say, celebrities also to help us to promote. In this moment with City Sarajevo and also with City Split and Ljubljana and Podgorica from Montenegro, we are also preparing this Adrian call. And of course, we are open for any other, projects, ideas, or programs where we could apply as Bosnia and Herzegovina if we are eligible because we also, as Christos said, we want to learn as well from other experiences and also to share our experiences. I think this topic is a hot topic now. It's so important if you're talking about climate change and health and well-being, and especially if you're talking about green cities, because I'm also professor at university and I'm teaching about smart city, green city. I'm teaching about energy efficiency. So it's really inspiring when you also show the students that even us from Bosnia and Herzegovina, for a very small country with huge difficulties and challenges, could win on some European calls. So this is also motivations for young people that they could really start with some ideas. Some ideas, especially if they are linked to the heritage and the tradition, they could really be very important in the future challenges and changes, which are I'm always telling to my students, tectonic changes in front of us if we want to really achieve all these goals in 2050. And I think we could learn a lot from each other, and this opportunities to exchange and to have projects, especially if you have projects funds by the EU, they are really very well structured, and monitoring and evaluations could really show us how we could improve in next stage. So I think it's really important that we are really open, and we do have a capacity also for the project writing and implementing. In this moment, we did implemented Bad Horizon 2020, and we are implementing IPA regional projects. So we do have a capacity to also work on some other project in the future.
Thank you very much, Sanela. I think it's time to open the floor for questions from the audience, either in the chat or by raising your hands. Any reactions or connections with your own cities or your own research projects, policies? Anyone? I see Joe has raised his hand. Hello, Joe. We can't hear you, though. Maybe your mic is not connected. Maybe you can put it in the chat. It's sometimes you have several mics and maybe it's not the right one that is activated, which is actually what happened to me earlier. Okay, anyone else from... I see in the chat from Sofia, for both speakers, what was the biggest obstacle when trying to engage with communities and authorities? I don't know who from Christos or Sanela would like to answer obstacle with engaging. Yes.
As I already mentioned, I think this interdisciplinarity. It's really hard to actually engage them 100% if they don't see that they are really that topic is in 100% in the scope of work, and also it's the big challenge is to put them together, to gather them together, and then to discuss about that and to make some further steps that really require a lot of time. At least in our case, it's time consuming, especially because I'm engineer. So for me, it's always the time is important. And if you're talking about community, I think we didn't have many challenges because they really show a huge interest and they participate in each of the workshops, different conferences that we did, and they helped us to actually won in this new European Bauhaus prize. So I think the big challenge is decision makers and how to, in this interdisciplinary and integral way, actually get them together and make them to make a decision together and work together. That's from my side.
Thank you. Christos, on your side, the biggest obstacle?
Sorry, I have to... where is my... Can you hear me, Manon?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's not very easy. Just to give you an example, we were trying, supposedly, in order to be effective, what we did, we said, okay, before we start construction, because we had to do, construction works for the urban regeneration, but also for building the new pipelines, creating the new pipelines. And this was in the end of the third year, and it carried on the fourth year of the project. So we had to involve the people before. So we did all the raising awareness, all the publicity, the promotional activities, the festivals, etc. before that. But the people really started getting interest when they saw the bulldozers and the diggers going there doing something in their neighborhood. So, and they came somehow after it, and we had to revise our plans, especially regarding the pipelines, and to upgrade the capacity of the pipelines because they showed a lot of demand. So, but what does this show? that you need to see people are interested when they see how what is going on affects their life, affects their kind of proximity, let's say, yeah. And this is something that is very challenging, especially when regarding to a city administration, either because, you know, whatever you want to do, it takes much longer, your bureaucratic process, tenders, whatever, etc., or when it has to do with infrastructural works, etc., that are not so flexible, like or co-organizing a festival, for example, yeah, or a cultural event or an educational event or whatever. Nevertheless, I think when you do it, the response of the people in Chalandri, it was amazing. Okay, and it required some things. It required a strategic thinking about the sustainability of the projects, which includes a cooperative form of management and cooperative space to produce a cooperative space for the management. This is why we came up with these citizens groups that they administer, either the digital archive or the. So we don't provide the space only to listen to them, but we provide a space in order to get the habit of how we work together for something and how we implement something, in order to hand in part of the things to the Hadrian Aqueduct. For example, the Hadrian community will be in charge of coordinating the delivery of water with the municipal water trucks. Okay, so this is a different kind of work that you have to do, that sometimes the staff of the administrative staff of the cities, it is beyond their job description. They cannot do this because it involves other things, working any time, any hour, you know, and working out of office, being more mobile and more available, many things other that they cannot do when they do the bureaucratic stuff. So it is, you need also to rearrange the way that that administrations work in order to be able to provide space. And of course, you have to be ready this has to be in an organized way, not just calling people and doing whatever. And of course, sometimes it means also that you aim to share power. Okay, and sharing power is not easy because you think that it takes more time than the effectiveness of the mayor decides, or this committee decides about what to do, and then let's go and do it. It's much but I think it is the main issue of democracy also today, just to put it a bit more general, of this mistrust between institutions and the people. And this has to be put openly and in the heart of the core issue of why people participate or do not participate. They have lost trust, okay, and you have to rebuild the trust. And rebuilding the trust, the one that has to do it is the one who is blamed for not delivering, not the one that is not trusting someone else.
Thank you. That's a powerful call for local administrations, and so joining on the more interdisciplinary approaches and going out of your usual pathways. Joe's put his question in the chat, but in the meantime, because I see we have other hands raised, I will start by the questions live and then go back to the chat. Dimitris?
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry for being a little bit dark. I think it's at this time of the day very sunny right out of my window, and the camera goes a little bit darker. Thank you all for your very valuable insights. Clémentine, maybe you want to jump to questions, because mine is more a call to describe our situation here rather than a direct question. Is this okay for your schedule?
I mean, we have 7 minutes left, so we have you can describe your situation.
I'll be very quick.
Joe's this question is also related to the situation of Glasgow as a city subject to heavy rain. So maybe we can connect with local situations.
Great. I will be very quick then. I come from the SME and the engineering world, so not really from academia. Just heard about this event from my colleagues in Hermes. We are a tech company, an engineering company working with sensor networks located on an island in Greece. And I put a lot of effort on describing the situation about the island. The reason is that what usually happens here as for the climate change is very common wherever you go in the southern Europe, especially in places where you have a large population fluctuations throughout the year. We started with working with projects about water and about plastic waste due to water management. But I wanted to focus on this quick chat with something else. I heard that somebody earlier, sorry, I can't keep the name, was talking about air pollution, and this is what we're trying to do here. So we started a collaborative project for installing an air quality sensor network, mainly because there are three, if I may say, very specific issues that we see happening elsewhere too. One is that within the urban environment of the city, there's a big industrial polluter, let's say, just to be quick. It's which is causing a lot of air pollution due to open air sound blasting. The second issue, which comes back to climate change, is that we do monitor a lot of phenomena which were very scarce in the past, such as a lot of, for example, dust from the African coast arrives on this area, and this is a phenomenon that causes a lot of issue to the air pollution and to people, of course, and it's happening more and more, and we don't have the models to react to it because this was a very scarce event back in the years. The third thing has to do with the quality of the air, based on what I described earlier, the population fluctuation. So these are touristic areas. You can imagine that the population on these areas skyrockets during the summer months, and we're talking about scales of magnitude. You would see, for example, places with 300 inhabitants to have about 50,000 people in the summer. And this means that there's a lot of traffic, there's a lot of business going on, there's a lot of restaurants opening and bars and open cuisines and stuff like that. And we could monitor the spikes on the air quality based on such kind of phenomena. So we could see, for example, that in the summer, if you go, for example, very early in the day, like 6 a.m., you would see that the formaldehyde exposed in the air by bakeries goes like skyrockets throughout the day. Anyway, I said I'm going to be quick. So this is our story. We're an engineering company working with sensor networks. We put a lot of effort, although it's not our main purpose, on air quality on such places, because we've started this already and we would like to have some input from you guys and see if we can collaborate on things like that, on such matters. And yeah, I will just leave the floor. As you said, we don't have enough time, so I'll try to be very quick. And we'll leave the floor to the rest. And I guess we will share details so we can at some point communicate with each other per se, right?
Sure, you can share links in the chat. Don't hesitate to do so. Thank you. Great. Thanks a lot, Dimitris. I don't know if Joe, your mic is working again, but I see your questions in the chat. There was a question about, do Sarajevo and Chalandri also have to deal with heavy rains or floods due to climate change? Yeah. And also you shared information about living with rain and adopting recently in Glasgow a motion based on even more recent research that Glasgow sits on the edge of a temperate rainforest climate zone that impacts the city in distinct ways. So yeah, thanks a lot for sharing the new city development plans. I think there is also someone in the virtual room from Amsterdam working on, of course, our Dutch colleagues and neighbors are working a lot with water management. So I don't know if you have any questions or any reactions from Christos and Sanela on also managing the other, side of the coin, which would be like over flooding on some periods of the year. I don't know if this is something that affects you and your cities.
May I, very briefly? Yeah, so Chalandri, because of, in the end of the Rematia stream that I mentioned earlier, it goes underground before it meets the Kifissos River, which all of it is underground in the metropolitan areas of Athens now. It is on the top of it is the national highway. So because of that, we had experienced, exactly where it is the Adrian Aqueduct. This neighborhood has experienced a lot of floods. And the most recent one was 2009. So with another participatory budgeting project in 2014, between 2014 and 2017, we had special works in order to deal with the flood issue. But what we do now with the Adrian Aqueduct is something, creating green spaces and reusing the water of the Adrian Aqueduct. In reality, we increase the capacity of the city and of the area to deal with floods. Why? Because the Adrian Aqueduct collects the water from the ground, infiltrates the water. So infiltrates, it takes the rainwater. It doesn't carry water from a spring or from a river to the sea. It just collects the water that goes to the ground. By using porous material, water permeable material, and exposing, the land, we help the water to go back to the Adrian Aqueduct and be reused again. So, and at the same time that we enrich the water resource, the more we use it, the more we enrich it, okay? And this is something, an adaptation that we did in order to also to enhance more the anti-flood works that existed, that had already been done. And the second thing it is that many of the cities that we work now together in the Hydro Heritage Cities issue, they have the issue of both droughts and floods and overflooding water. So, and this is taking in consideration, we hope, to expand also this notion of how you use old infrastructures of water management to address contemporary issues of floods or drought too.
Thank you. And very briefly, Sanela, do you also have?
Just to add, these topics are also very, very important if you're talking about flood and also landsliding, because we had that issue in October in the city Jablonec and Klarić. And again, it's also if you're talking about protection of the water and pollution of the water, we also have a huge problem about urbanizations and also not following these protection rules for the water springs. So those topics are very important, and of course we cannot cover these topics in 1.5 hours because our goal was also to talk about the projects that we are going on. And I also would like to thank to Mona from Italy for this invitation for the conference that we also all get. It's also good in that level to talk. And yes, with the Glasgow, I thank you for sharing this document. We will definitely I will share with some decision makers who are making the plans, because in this moment we are making the new urban plan for Sarajevo canton. So maybe that will also, this document could help us, because yes, we're facing that issues as well. And yes, as Christos said, we could learn a lot from traditional ways how we did, but we also have to be aware that this climate change and those heavy rains that we didn't have in the past. So we really need also to gather all the capacities to find a way how, an innovative way, by using, of course, the knowledge from the past, we could address these huge challenges in front of us.
Thanks a lot. I see, Maria, you still have your hands raised. Is it about the conference that you wanted to share very briefly, because we are already over time? And your microphone is not on. So while you're sorting this out, Maria shared in the chat a conference on the International Symposium on Water, Wastewater and Environment, past to present. So there is a link if you move up to the chat. I see that there are a number of other questions, but unfortunately we don't have any more time to go through this, but we will share, if this is okay for the speakers, we can share some contacts so that you can stay in touch, maybe send directly your questions to both our speakers. We make sure that we share a way to contact them. Thank you very much, Sanela and Christos, for joining us to share your experiences. I hope it was insightful for you as well, and that it will bring new opportunities for connecting throughout Europe. On my side, I took notes that revitalizing heritage is of public utility for public good, and it brings benefits for the community in terms of climate, well-being, social inclusion. That water is definitely not a commodity, but rather a culture and a natural commons, and as such, common heritage, but also an enabler of public space regeneration to meet green and health and well-being objectives. And that shared care and community ownership ensure sustainability of these projects that you have shared with us. So thanks a lot. I think we are going to close here on this heritage value, which is historical, cultural, social, environmental. I hope you all gain some insights, some seeds for future work. I encourage you to stay connected, as Manon mentioned in the beginning, with the hub activities. We are wrapping up our first phase, but we are not stopping there. So there will be further opportunities. We have a couple of final activities that are going to take place until mid-July. So please stay connected with our social media and on our website. And thanks again to everyone today for attending, and apologies for the 5 minutes delay. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
everyone.
All the
It was
best.
a pleasure.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next time.